Hey, I'm back with another video. We'll be looking at setting up our code editor, VSCode. It's a free download. If you haven't installed it already, we did it in a previous video using Homebrew. If you want to check out that video on how we did that, go right ahead. If you want to just install it manually, you can go to code.visualstudios.com, download it here, and install it. In this video, we'll be looking at preference, the interface, some extensions, and how some of those extensions work, and some keyboard shortcuts. Okay, so let's get started here. Okay, I'm gonna move that over there and open up Terminal. And I guess we could have just opened up VS Code, but I want to do it this way. We should be in our user folder, and if you want to create a projects folder, you can do mk make dir to create that. I already have that, so I'm just going to cd right in. What I want to do here is make dir and macdev VSCode. From here, I'm going to cd into that. And let's open up VS Code. So you can do that by typing code dot, and this will open up your VS Code within your directory here. Now, we didn't have to open up VS Code that way. I wanted to do that to have a project folder ready when we're testing out our extensions, but you could have just opened up VS Code by itself. Now let's close this. Let's take a look at the interface here. We have here, this is our Explorer. This is where you would create files. This would be a list of all your files within your project folder. We have a search tab here. This is a version control of what you would have for Git and GitHub. A debugger, a section, extensions. This looks like a profile and a settings with a gear. Okay, so we're going to take a look at extensions first. We're going to do Prettier. This is an extension for code formatting. We can install that. We'll do Live Server. And this is a local server, and you can see how many gets downloaded just to see how popular it is. This one has 8.2 million. We can install that. This will serve up a local server for us for static HTML files. Let's install a theme. I like Monokai++, but you can search just theme or Monokai. There's a bunch of just Monokais by itself if you just look up that. I'll click here, and that will set the, like if you just typed in Monokai, there's already like a couple pages worth already. I want to install icon theme, material icon. And these will set some of your, these will set these kind of icons for your files. And you click there to set it up. Since we'll be looking at JavaScript and Node, I want to install JavaScript ES6 snippet and install that. Project manager. Oh, this one. Now this one is kind of allows us, I'll create a new tab here. And you can add projects here. So if you have default projects that you want to have favored, it'll list them and it'll be easy to open up in the future. Similar to what the welcome screen had, where it has your most recent. Close that. Another one, bracket colorizer. This one. And this, so when you have like a function or if statements and they get really, really, really long, it will kind of give you kind of an indication on where the closing bracket is and what's within there. So that's a nice little aesthetic thing. And that pretty much covers the ones that I want to install as like a default. Okay, let's look up our preferences. Or here, let's create a couple files here. I'm going to do index.html. And you can see here it has now this new icon. We can also do app.js, and that'll give us the JavaScript icon. Style.css. So we have these 3 files here with these icons. So that's the material icon. And with HTML, VS Code comes with something called Emmet. If you do doc, the Emmet abbreviation, we can type push tab, and it'll give us HTML boilerplate. We can call this VS Code setup. Let's take a look at settings, command and comma, or you can go down here and settings here. Okay, let's close these up. Okay, so what I want to do here is make a couple of changes. Let's do font size. And font size here, I want to change it to 16. And terminal font size, I want it to be 16 as well. Save those. If we go to save on format, if we click here, it will save our it'll format after we hit save. And if we do, and we check default formatter, right now it's set to null. We downloaded the Prettier extension. If we click that, it'll use the Prettier formatting rules. We go to tab, and I like the tab size to be smaller than 4, so I like it 2. We can do word wrap, and I set it to on. And you can also toggle it on and off here in view. Maybe I'll show you guys in a sec. Print width, I set that to, oh, okay. So here, let's go to print width. And this is in Prettier. So how it formats it, it won't adhere to the word wrap as much. So it'll format based, if it gets too long, it'll reformat it. So I like setting this a little bit longer to 100. And we can do single quote. And this will use single quotes for Prettier. And use tab. And we'll use tab for Prettier as well. Now, if you did our tutorial for our setting up our Z shell and terminal, go to terminal font. You will need to add the font family. Let's open up terminal. Clear that. And if we go to you can grab your font family based off of here. If you installed the same font as me, I installed Meslo LGS NF. So we would do that. NF. We need this font to showcase or to show our icons. Now, if I did that, I think, yeah, so right now I don't have the icons working. And once I do that, the icons show back up. That's all I wanted to show for here. You can also do this and have your configuration in the JSON file. So if you know your what setting you want to change, and you can type it out and you can give it a pair pair it with your option here. Okay, and just build it out as the JSON. So if you had a different configuration in another VS Code, you can just copy and paste this and paste it over into here instead of having to go through all of these ones. And here you can show show modified settings. So these are all the settings we just changed as well. So let's close that and close that. Okay, let's take a look here in the index file. So I want to go over a couple of keyboard shortcuts. We covered a couple already. Command, comma will open up settings. Okay, we can close that. Command Shift P will open up this VS Code commands. So there's a bunch of commands here. They'll be a part. If your extension has commands, they'll also show up here. Yeah, so this has all the default commands from VS Code, and your extensions commands will be in here as well. Open up terminal is Control and tilde, so you can toggle that. And you can open that up with terminal here. I talked about, so if we do P, and I do a lorem, so right now it's being word wrapped. Now, to toggle word wrap, I think it's option Z. Yeah, so option Z toggles word wrap. But if I do a command save, it's going to, based off of our prettier, it's going to break it. So if I go back here and, so it's going to break it. That's what save on format on save is. So if I did this, I did this, did this, did this. Okay, if I save, it gets reformatted back. Back to our shortcuts. Now you can create multiple cursors. Let's do this. UL, and I'll do an LI. And let's just type item 1. Okay, so what we can do here is if we hold Option and Shift and push an arrow key, it'll duplicate that line. We can also grab a couple of lines and duplicate them. Now we can also do this. If you hold Option and click, you can make a bunch of cursors here, and you can type at the same time. So you can do 2. You can also do something like this. That's a little bit more useful. It equals a class and a class name. So item, the item class. Okay, you can also go like this, command. You do command and option, and you can use the arrow key to do that. So instead of having to click each one, you can just go like that and does it all. So that could be 1 or -1. Okay, so we can do that. Let's change a couple of these. 2, 5, 6, 8, 8, 8. Okay, let's save that. Now what you could do here is you can do a highlight this. You can highlight this and do Command Shift L, and that will create a cursor at every one of the same instance. So it's changing all the ones with the items space dash space 1 that we just did it. And I'll just delete that to just be item. Okay, and you can do that for any kind of string. So I could do that for class. Command Shift L, and I'll create the cursor for us there. So those are a little bit of shortcuts for just editing, typing out the code. Okay, so let's save that. Okay, let's look at our extensions. We already looked at the prettier one where it's on save, it formats that way. We looked at we already seen the material icon in action, and this is the Monokai theme. Now what we can do here is here in JS, and this might not make sense to you now. If you're familiar with JavaScript and ES6, if we did a require and I hit tab, so this does a snippet preset, and if you wanted to, add an if you installed an extension through npm, let's say we installed Express. So that's a very quick way to have to require it or to include it. Instead of having to type all that, it's very quickly. You can just do rec express, and it's already done. Okay, so that's a nice quick way to use that. Save that. Project Manager, I talked about how we could add it. Oops. So here, Project Manager, save project, and just hit enter. And now we have our project here. And in the future, if you're in a different project, all you have to do is just click here, and I'll open up VS Code for you in a new window. Okay, and I think there's settings where you can set our project as our base, and it'll just automatically load them all up. But sometimes I don't want to see every single project. I just want to see some of the more popular or favorite projects I'm working on. You can play around with this, see how you like it set up. Brackets pair colorizer. Okay, let's create a function. We'll do const VSCode. We'll do equals an arrow function. And as you can see here, it shows there. We can do let x equals 1, let y equal 10, return x plus y. Okay, so now we can see here, if we highlight this, it will highlight kind of this section here. And if we did 2 and 3, it highlights for that. Okay, so that's just a nice to have, especially if your code is longer than your one page, and you can kind of see where the closing bracket is. Okay, and it also works with like an if statement, if y, and now this is purple for this. Okay, something like that. Okay, let's save that. Now we can take a look at our live server. So we installed live server to serve up local files. If you just right click here, and I think it's over here somewhere, but if you right click and open with live server, it is server on port 5500. We can do localhost 5500. And there we go. We have the lorem ipsum that we added and these items, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so that's basically just a crash course on VS Code. That pretty much covers the VS Code basic setup. Now, if you're looking into developing in other languages like Python, PHP, React, there's a number of them. You can download extensions to help specifically with those languages. Now, all you have to do is go back to the extensions and type in your language, like React. And, you take a look at these, and, this one's been downloaded 1.5 million. This one's downloaded 2 million. You can play around with those and experiment. I'll let you guys do that. There's no way I could cover every single language with every extension. You might as well just download every extension then. And again, these are just my suggestions. You can personalize the settings to any way that you like them as well. Now, that's it for this video, and I'll talk to you guys in the next. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed the content so far. If you have any questions or feedback, please leave a comment down below. To stay updated with the latest content from the channel, you can subscribe by clicking right here in the middle.